Okay, so Chiefs offense versus Browns defense. Yeah, on paper, it doesn't seem like that's a great matchup for Cleveland just alone, right? You have the team that gets the most yards per drive taking on the team that gives up the 10th most yards per drive in the league. So that's obviously not a great matchup for Cleveland. But let's talk about really the ins and outs. And, they had a good week against Pittsburgh. Let's talk about maybe how they could have a good week against Kansas City, and Kansas City has looked human down the stretch, so I don't think this is necessarily a guarantee that Kansas City is going to score a billion and win. So let's talk about what went wrong, and then we'll talk about why it may or may not matter. And by what went wrong, I mean what has gone wrong for the Chiefs in the past. The Atlanta game, I think there's no bigger example, and this is something that really I think Cleveland should kind of model their game after. This play is going to be zone coverage. It's a cover 3 zone, and Kelsey's running a route over the middle, and this could get into a gap in coverage. So on paper, this makes sense for Mahomes. Sure, make this throw. But watch how once this play starts, you see Kelsey's getting open in terms of where he is aligned with the corner, but you also notice that there's an Atlanta linebacker who's in front right here. And one of the issues with Mahomes and one of the reasons why he fell to 10 way back in the day was people said he feels like he can make every throw. And then he got to the NFL, and it turns out he basically can make every throw, so it didn't really matter. But sometimes that does get him into trouble. Rarely, but sometimes. I think maybe even more damaging than what's going to happen with this decision is watch his form. Watch how he just very awkwardly, kind of flat-footedly throws that one, which results in an interception. I've talked about this play before. I made a video about this whole game, but that's just not great footwork, and it kind of does make you think that, Mahomes, it's so easy for him that sometimes he just doesn't necessarily do everything he should do, especially with footwork. And again, we're nitpicking Patrick Mahomes. He's incredible. I'm going to get into that in a second. But there are ways to beat him. He is a human, and so that's what you have to look at. And by ways to beat him, I basically mean just play zone coverage and hope he screws up. That is part of how you beat him. This play was incredibly interesting. This is a 3rd down and 10, but watch what they're doing. It's essentially like a cover 3 zone blitz, but instead of having a player blitz, they're having a safety stay incredibly far deep. He's going to be like a 3rd deep safety, which is very interesting. This is essentially a prevent defense play, except it's in the middle of the 3rd quarter. Like, this isn't a prevent defense situation. Kansas City isn't even going for anything that deep, but they have at times done that. And clearly, Atlanta's mindset in this game was don't give up the deep pass. If you want to grind it out and get, small play after small play after small play and get these 12-yard touchdown drives, as a defense, you got to accept that. And especially for Cleveland, I think they should be saying the same thing. I mean, watch this. Watch how Mahomes takes this snap. Nothing really gets open. He could have maybe forced something, but I think it was the correct decision to not. He had some checkdowns, which he probably should have thrown by now. But look at that deep safety. Look at how far down the field he is. I mean, he's currently almost 50 yards further down the field than Mahomes is right now. He's about 20 yards further down the field than the next closest Kansas City player. This is almost like he's expecting a quick kick or something. That's how far down the field he is. But Atlanta is doing this simply because they know that this is something Kansas City will do, is take these deep shots, and so they're not going to get beat deep. Eventually, the pressure comes. Mahomes, nothing he can do. He, fires one incomplete. He should have taken a check down earlier, but again, this is also a bad day for Mahomes. I'm just more interested in showing the defensive coverages. Like, I think this one's also a good, maybe, reason to be optimistic for Cleveland, is the fact that when you play zone coverage and you can force Mahomes to not get these easy throws, he has been known to get a little frustrated at times, and this is what you got to do. You got to get him a little frustrated, and you got to get him to make a mistake or two, where it's zone coverage, cover 2 zone. You look to Mahomes' left. That's where he's trying to throw it to, but spoiler alert, there's going to be pretty quick pressure, so he's not going to be able to actually let that play develop. And what instead is going to happen is that to his right, he has a couple of check down routes, so that's the way this whole play works. Mahomes takes the snap. It's not a blitz, but they got creative with how they sent 4, so kind of a blitz, kind of not, because it's just different personnel, but still cover 2. Mahomes is looking to his left, but there is a check down open to his right, kind of. It would be a tough check down, but, you can throw it. Just sort of make your receiver dive to his left, which should be to Mahomes' right, towards the bottom of the screen. That's kind of what Mahomes should do right here. But it's worth mentioning that Mahomes is still looking to his left right now, and there's pressure coming immediately. He would have to throw it immediately, and it's just too risky of a play. So you can't blame Mahomes for not taking the check down here. But he still basically throws a no-look check down, and it was nearly intercepted, ends up bouncing. But that's just a bad mistake. And quite frankly, it goes back to sometimes Mahomes feels like he can do anything. And if you can get an interception that way, that could go a long way with how Cleveland's offense matches against Kansas City's defense. It's hard to imagine Kansas City losing this game without throwing an interception or two, but at the same time, it's not that difficult to imagine them doing that. There was also this play, and this is the way that Atlanta was able to stop them that I don't know if Cleveland will be able to do, where it's going to be a cover one man. They didn't do this too much. Teams have really struggled trying to play cover one man against Kansas City. I mean, you saw Tampa Bay get completely lit up when they did that, so you got to be careful in trying to leave Tyreek Hill on an island one-on-one. I think if you do want to play cover one, you probably have to double Tyreek, but that's not even a great idea either, and I'll explain why in a second. But watch how when Mahomes takes this snap, he sees, hey, Tyreek Hill, one-on-one matchup, I'm throwing it there. But this is A.J. Terrell, the defensive back, who's going up against him, and he's having an incredible season, and he's actually holding his own with Hill. In fact, when Mahomes makes this throw, this is nearly an interception. He just couldn't survive the ground. I mean, that was so close to an interception, and Atlanta would have won that game had he held on. So that's just a massive mistake. And that's kind of, again, going back to the thing about Mahomes, is it's not just so much that he believes in himself to be able to make every throw, but he believes when he throws up a 50-50 ball to Tyreek Hill, it's going to be a touchdown. And honestly, 99% of the time, it is a touchdown, so that's why he does it. The issue is, I just don't know if they have a defensive back who can, cover Hill the same way that A.J. Terrell did, so I don't know if that'll come into play. You do have Denzel Ward, who I believe will be playing. The Cleveland Browns actually activated him today, seeing that right now. So, yeah, so he will be playing, which is huge. He's their best defensive back. But at the same time, I just don't know if he can cover Hill one-on-one, because I don't know if really anyone can consistently. But at the same time, if you're in that situation, maybe you get your head turned around. Maybe you get lucky with a pick. I don't know. But you're probably going to have to get lucky with an interception or two to win this game. But again, it's possible. But also, just stay away from cover one, man. Like, as a whole, just don't do that. Because if you do, it's going to be a disaster. Like on this one, it is that cover one play. And what they're doing now is they have Hill running a deep route over the middle. He's taking on the double team. And now they have Robinson, who's going to run a deep route just further to the left. And the reason this works so well is now it's not A.J. Terrell with the one-on-one matchup. You get a less good corner with a one-on-one matchup. And honestly, Kansas City has a ton of fast receivers. They can get open deep. Watch, Mahomes takes a snap. The offensive line holds, which is another question mark because the offensive line has been banged up and has had its bad moments. And maybe for Cleveland, if Myles Garrett can have a good day, that actually could factor in hugely. But yeah, I mean, as you see deep, there's just a wide open window. Mahomes, he's never going to miss this throw ever, pretty much. He does make that throw, and they're able to get a big completion for a touchdown. And for Atlanta, their defense played so well, but all it takes is just one play like that, and then boom, Kansas City scored. So you have to just be so careful and so disciplined against this team. But also, I just don't know if Cleveland is as good at zone coverage as Atlanta is. Like, this one's a good example. They actually they had their moments against Pittsburgh for sure, but a lot of what happened against Pittsburgh too was them just capitalizing off of Pittsburgh's mistakes, which I just don't think Kansas City is going to make as many of. Like on this play, it's a cover 2 zone right here, and Pittsburgh just has a receiver running over the middle. This is a very basic way to beat cover 2 zone, and also Cleveland is going to run a cover 2 zone a million times in this game. This is going to be the coverage they run the most. So this is the most important thing to take notes on if you're Kansas City. Watch how Ben takes the snap, and you see that there is an opening right here. This can absolutely be a completion. And the thing about Pittsburgh is that they just kept screwing things up. They kept making mistakes. It goes through Deontay Johnson's hands, ends up in an interception, and just like that, Cleveland gets the ball. So that's a great job of being prepared, and also it shows how the scheme can work with 2 safeties deep and with the zone coverage. You just have a lot of guys focused on the quarterback who can be in position to, turn an overthrow into an interception. But at the same time, I just don't know if Mahomes is going to give you too many, if any of those. So that's the issue, and that's why I do think they will have to have a little bit of luck to get these types of plays. And Pittsburgh was easily able to just get these like 15-yard chunk plays throughout the course of the game for Cleveland, where this one, quarters coverage, and they have a concept that can beat it, where you have your receiver, your plus receiver, all the way on the bottom of the screen. He's the receiver closest to the bottom of the screen. He's running a go route. You then have an out route right next to him. So basically, the defensive back who's deep is going to get further deep, and this can clear out the window where you can make a throw towards the sideline. And Roethlisberger takes the snap. This is a play that should have worked anyways because it was a good concept against that coverage, but it's easily open. I mean, this just worked out really well for Pittsburgh. It'll work out equally well for Kansas City. Ben makes this throw. They get a first down on a 1st down and 10. And I could honestly see that happening a ton for Kansas City. I do think that as much as the strategy makes sense to force Kansas City to make a lot of plays and not turn the ball over, they've done that before. They did that against the Raiders. They did that against Houston. Like, they can do that without turning the ball over, or maybe even if they turn it over once. I don't know if that'll be enough. They might need multiple turnovers, which it's hard to see happening. But like, take a look at a play like this. I think this is a great example of just showing how you can still get chunk plays even against a defense designed to not give up chunk plays. It's cover 2 zone, but what Pittsburgh is doing is they have, a receiver on either side of the screen running go routes, and you have another receiver running a crossing route over the middle. So both of the safeties are going to have to take away the go routes, and you also have multiple checkdowns underneath, which can bring linebackers further in, which can get that middle of the field opened up. Watch, Big Ben takes the snap, and you see that, there's just a huge opening right there in the middle of the field. This is too easy for Pittsburgh, and again, you better believe Kansas City will take advantage of these kind of things as well. So you're going to need some splash plays. You're going to need your defensive line to come in handy, and it's going to be tough. And honestly, I think that if Cleveland gives up 30 points, they would feel great about this game because that's who they're going up against. Roethlisberger makes this throw. It was an easy throw to make. There's a couple other things to mention. The biggest one is that teams that rest their starters week 17 and then have a bye week in the first round of the playoffs typically don't do that great. The last 4 times that it's happened where a team has been in that situation, they've only won 1 game between them. The other 3 went one and done. So, that's promising. And even the one game that was won was when the Saints beat the Eagles, which was that, Alshon Jeffrey dropped pass. And if you remember, the Eagles got up to a 14-0 start before New Orleans was able to sort of come back and eventually win the game. And I could see something like that happening. I think for Cleveland, they blitzed Pittsburgh last week. You got to blitz Kansas City this week. If this game is tied in the first quarter, it's going to be tough to win. And tied after the first quarter, You got to get a lead. And also, I think 2 things. The line right now is a 10-point line. I think if you're a betting man, which I sometimes am, I dabble. If you are, which, again, be over 18, gamble responsibly, all that stuff. I do think that I would bet on Cleveland to cover a 10-point spread. That seems like pretty high to me. I also think that if Cleveland goes up like 10 points or like 17 points early on, I think bet on the Chiefs money line because I could easily see them starting off slow because of the rest, but then finding a way to get back in it. I said I think Cleveland will score a lot of points. I said they'd score 33 in an 11-possession game. I think that's a lot. I think Kansas City's, I'll give them 34 points. I'm going to give them 1 extra point. I think this is going to be a close game. I do. I am going to go Kansas City with the victory, but I would not be shocked to see it go the other way. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.